Okay, so this is my reflection on habits of mind. A few of the traits that I believe that I already embody and that I apply to my day to day life, otherwise internalized, are persistence, thinking flexibility, thinking about thinking, striving for accuracy and precision, finding humor, thinking interdependently, and remain open to continuous learning. I'll just touch on a couple of them. As far as persistence, are the ones that I find the most important. As far as persistence, I try to see everything that I start all the way through, regardless of whatever obstacles I come along the way. I'll try to be as creative in my approach and as strategic in my approach at tackling difficult challenges. Thinking flexibly goes hand in hand with that. As I mentioned in my introductory video, I did spend 8 years of active duty in the Coast Guard. I'm still actively in the Coast Guard as a reservist. Part of my job in that regard is to be what the titles of coxswain. That entails driving boats for search and rescue and possible law enforcement operations. So in that kind of environment, it's a very dynamic environment, having to deal with the ocean, the sea state, as well as with other people who may not be as experienced on the water. So having a flexible approach to dealing with pressure circumstances come in very handy. Also, in that same scenario, we work as a team, so everybody's input is it's important in these environments, regardless of rank. Everybody is trained in those environments, and therefore their opinion is weighted. Um, as well as you got to find humor in life, so not being too serious, being able to look at yourself and find the things that we can work on, but also looking at it from a light perspective and always having a good point of view. So those are probably the biggest takeaways on the things that I already feel I embody. However, some of the things that I could improve on, if not definitely start to work on the most or embody, is listening with empathy. I feel like I do that in most situations, but if let's say a disagreement is happening, um, and I feel strong about my opinion, I may put empathy aside and deal with things a little bit more brash. Um, so carrying that all the way through and always remaining empathetic and understanding of the other person's situation and how they may perceive the issue would be of great benefit. Um, Creating, imagining, and innovating. When it comes to that perspective, trying a different approach. So, as I also mentioned in my introduction, a complete 180 as far as the military. I'm also an occupational therapy assistant and I work in pediatrics. Um, a lot of those approaches and interventions that I use with my kids, um, they may be creative, but they do branch off of um, already true and tested methods. However, maybe sticking a little bit too much to the routine and how they're executed. And if I were to apply a little bit more creativity and a little bit more imagination, it may be of greater benefit to the kid and yield better results. And then also, one of the things that I feel I could definitely improve on the most is I have a certain way of thinking myself, and in here it makes sense, but sometimes the way I articulate it may not make the most sense. I I can probably be a little bit quick to try and put out an idea and not find the right words to convey it. So thinking and communicating with clarity and precision is something that I could definitely work on. Um, Especially when working in a team environment, it's very and in a hectic environment, which for education purposes, could just be a big group of non-participating kids and wanting to work on their own or however. But just basically communicating an idea to where it's understood without having to repeat it too many times or find different ways to articulate it would be very beneficial. So, but those are probably the biggest takeaways that I had from Habits of Mind. It was an interesting read, and I look to apply and improve on all of those traits.